Yes, welcome back to the South Australian Sports Show. Time to turn our attention to the SANFL. Sturt just sitting nicely in fourth spot, Baz. The new coach, Nathan Grima, joins us. Chris Trapp, the footy operations. Thanks, fellas, for coming in.
Thanks for having us on.
Mate, first time in the coach's seat at Sturt, mate. How are you finding it?
It's been really enjoyable, actually, even from the process with Trappy from the start. Relatively inexperienced, coach for 2 years back in Melbourne. At local level, when I finished at North, I retired with a fused disc in my back, and the club were kind enough to keep me on in a development role for the rest of the year. So, once we sort of went through the process and got the nod, I've loved every minute of it. It's been a bit of an eye-opener, just managing 60 people, 50 to 60 people, and the personalities that are a little bit different to probably when even I come through the system 10 years ago. Loving every minute of it and starting to see our hard work come together on game day.
So, mate, you had a couple of years with Strathmore there in the Essendon Footy League. Big difference from there to the SANFL as far as your time and, 60 players, is that a bigger shift?
Yeah, I think so. I think just the management, and the issues that are facing young guys today. I'm only 33, and you're dealing with things that, that you probably don't have to do at local level because you don't spend enough time with the guys. The league we were in was really strong. There was a team, Pascoe Vale had 11 ex-AFL players playing for it. Our team had 4 or 5 guys that had played AFL and another half dozen from the SANFL. So you're getting guys at the back end of their career. So to implement game plan and strategy is difficult. It's just more about who can you sort of recruit and motivate and bring together to play good footy. But over here, you get an opportunity to bring guys through the under-18s, which Trappy coached to a premiership a few years ago. Our reserves team now is made up of half the team's under-18. You can actually, implement skills over 3 days of your week, a game plan, review it. We're well-resourced. You can actually coach, and it's probably just a lighter version of what I was doing in the AFL. A lot of the stuff we do is exactly what we did at North Melbourne with Brad Scott, and I've just followed a lot of his philosophies into SANFL, but he got sacked recently. So, hopefully the last 10 years first. We did have some good years there, I must admit, though.
You'll be fine. You'll get to the prelim final, but you can't go past that, mate.
We actually did well with some what people said were pretty mediocre lists. I think Brad did a great job. I played in a prelim, so he must have done something well. Yeah. So.
You've got a situation now with the Blues. They're out of the calculations at the minute, but it's very, very tight, isn't it? So you're a couple of wins away from third, or being up there anyway. So it's a long way to go in the season.
Well, that's the thing. I think at the moment I think Port Adelaide are a win ahead of Norwood, maybe in 7th, or maybe 2 wins. And on the weekend we nearly slipped up to Central Districts, which would have put us outside the 5. And generally in these leagues you want to make top 3 for the double chance, but I think we saw in North Adelaide last year, if you get in there, you can be good enough. And because there's a 2 AFL listed clubs in there as well, a lot will be dependent on where their AFL team is at that part of the year as to who they have available and how they approach that. So I think it'll be just a year if you can get into the 5. It's down to probably 7 teams, I think, now with Norwood and Eagles just outside the 5. I think every one of those teams would give themselves an opportunity. We've got a bit of improving to do still first.
I've got a shout out for Zane Kirkwood, who I saw a lot of at Port Adelaide, obviously. A great player. He's a terrific player. A terrific guy, first and foremost, but a really good player, a real good team player who we were very, very sorry to lose, along with a few others, but he's been a great player for the Double Blues. Yeah,
well, Trappy's probably, and you've known Zane now for a bit longer than me, and he'd probably know more the impact he's made on the club over that time.
Yeah, obviously captain and dual McGarry medalist, Foss Williams medalist as a state captain as well. Yeah. He's made a massive impact on the club. 200 games last week and 200 very good games. So, for him to come across from the Port Magpies after that switch with the Power and the Sandford teams, he came across with a couple of other guys and he's just been super.
Who recruited him?
So Paul Sandico, I reckon, was in the chair at that time, the footy manager. So he's done very well, Sandy, who's at the Bays now.
Because Corey Beard would have been in that package as well.
Beardy came across, and James Watt was another one. Durden was another. So and actually we saw Beardy out at training last week, popped his head in and was there when we presented Zane with a video with some messages for his 200 games. So he's back on the farm now out of Port Lincoln. But And obviously our leading goal kicker for a couple of years there with the premiership sides as well in 16 and 17. So,
very good recruiting there.
We've done well there.
Hey, Chris, I'm interested. You coached the reserve. You won a grand final with the under-18s, and then you've got to try and follow the game plan, of course, of the head coach. Is that what you're doing? The reserves are running the same system,
Yeah.
Because you've got to try and feed the guys in quickly, yet your system would have been different with the under-18 boys. Are there times that you find it a little frustrating?
Yeah, well, we've sort of, I suppose, invested in terms of coaching and whatnot at Sturt and try to bring through our juniors as much. It just gets too hard to recruit big name and big dollar players across. So if we can invest in our own, that sort of worked for us. So we really played to the same game plan
Right through
the club.
reserves,
16s, 18s reserves
Okay.
league, and even filters through to the women's side, which we have now. So bringing in Nathan as a full-time coach as well, he's really the senior coach of the club effectively, and we're really lucky at the club that we have most of our coaches are actually in a full-time capacity. While I'm not a full-time reserves coach, the footy manager and the reserves coach, it's handy in terms of game plan tweaks, selection and whatnot, that you're not having to get on the phone to talk about players, but you're actually there face to face all the time.
So what
It's a
you're
big
saying, if the
role.
game plan doesn't work, it's Nathan's fault. He's just shifted that straight onto you.
Well, I've copied Marty Matner. So,
So you'll be at the Crows.
no, we're very fortunate. Hopefully, no, not really. But like Marty, obviously coming out of the AFL, we implemented some things, and I just think in the modern game to keep things as simple as possible. I'm not an expert by any stretch. I'm confident in my ability to coach the group, but I think when you're trying to do a whole of club game plan, just the fundamentals is what I think is still important, and just the same terminology. Everyone's got different words for what they call things, but if they're hearing it from under 16s on, we can bring guys in, they understand, different words that we're using, and we don't want to confuse them. I think, still being the fundamentals with us is teaching guys to defend well, and that's what we've done well in our league team. We've got the least points against, least shots against, but then obviously building some offence around that's been the next part of it. But it's the beauty, I guess, of less big name recruits is you're seeing your young kids come into the team. We've played, I think, 32 or 33 guys this year, which was a fair bit up on what Marty did because of lack of injury. We've debuted 5 young kids out of under 18 program, and you see their parents in the room. You see their their grandparents.
Yeah,
parents
great.
are normally good at this level. Some are a little bit opinionated, but to see the happiness it brings people around the club is. If you can bring them through and have some success is what it's all about. And we'll try and still recruit to the top end where we can a little bit, but really mindful with ex-AFL players and what their agenda is for joining the comp. I think at this level, working full-time and training as much as we do, if you're not 100% invested for the right reasons, it does become a chore, and we don't want that to become a problem at Sturt.
Can we talk to you about your time at the Bombers?
Yep.
Because it was in the time of the supplement.
Yep.
That's a good word. I like supplement. Supplement saga. Tell us about how did you get involved there?
Well, I was actually finished up at North. So 2014, we played a prelim against Sydney in Sydney. I played in that game. I'd missed a fair bit of that year with a crack in my navicular, and so I had a pretty easy pre-season into 15. I'd had a back operation previously, but it had come good. And then my first session in 15. It was about February. I joined with the group and re-ruptured my disc in my back, so we had an operation to get that right. And then I tried to get back 20 weeks later, and it went again. So I got it removed and fused. And at that stage, I didn't think I'd play footy again, which I was content with. I was disappointed, but I was content with. And went away and did some stuff away from footy, and was going to have a kick at local level with my brothers. And then, out of nowhere, the supplement saga sort of hit, and they were looking for a key defender, and I thought I still had something to offer, but probably in hindsight I didn't. I gave up an opportunity working and had some media work and some stuff at North Melbourne, which I passed up to play again, which I don't regret because I love the game. But it was just, it's sort of hard to explain.
How tough was that, mate? Because it's a mishmash of players. It wasn't it? I mean, it was just a nothing team. It was it was funny watching them actually at times, because you could tell that they just weren't gelling there early. No one even knew who you were.
Yeah.
Centre half back there or full back.
They did by the end of the year, probably more for my off-field shenanigans. But it was great. It's funny, you get these opinions of players across your career. Like I played against James Kelly a few times, and I respect him as a player, but didn't know a lot about him. Probably Ryan Crowley was a big one. We hated him at North for the way he went about things on the field, and to start to get all these players from different clubs together, it's probably where I actually got the love for coaching, because you'd start to sit around, you'd just be talking about things that your club did and did differently, and And you know, been under Worsfold, who'd been a premiership coach, and I really enjoyed that year. Although I'd got a fracture in my hip and only played 2 games, I really enjoyed being able to finish the game with a bit of enjoyment, because obviously when I finished at North, I didn't know that was the end. But and also from a pressure point of view, you know, we didn't win, lose or draw wasn't really the factor. It was just getting these young kids, Darcy Parish, these young guys to enjoy their first year of senior footy, because it's something they've dreamt of their whole life. We didn't want them to come into AFL and be like, geez, you know, what's going on here? So we made it as fun as we could. We had a lot of get-togethers and camaraderie, and hopefully they look back on that as a year that kick-started their AFL careers.
It's amazing how many people 4 years later are still interested in the supplement saga and how it went. But quickly, let's get back to you. The floor manager's giving me the big wind-up. Westies, Sunday at Sturt. What are we expecting?
Hopefully a win. We need a win, and then we've got 4 top 5 teams to finish. Westies got the better of us early last time in the first quarter. We were down 4 or 5 goals. Obviously, mid-season drafts affected those guys, but they got a win last week.
Yes, they did.
The beauty of this comp is, you know, whether you're top or bottom, results can go either way. And
My word, they
if
can.
you're off at all, you can get caught out. So, hopefully we see a good contest from our guys at home, 4 of the last 5, and we get a win.
Really appreciate you coming in, boys. Sunday, you need to get down to Peter Motley Oval. Was one of the great champs of the Sturt Footy Club. Support the Double Blues as they go up against West Adelaide. Stay with us. Still, plenty to come on the show.